Hello friends, I'm Vinay Mote, nature and wildlife photographer, and today I'm going to talk about shutter speed in detail. So we're going to talk about fast shutter speed and also we're going to talk about slow shutter speed, or it also called as long exposure photography. Now let's see where shutter sits inside the camera assembly. So if your focusing object is flying somewhere like a bird, then that's your aperture in your lens, and that's your orange color is sensor, and this green color is shutter, and shutter looks like something like this. This is how you can imagine if you are sitting inside a dark room. It has got first window, which is a shutter, and then the second outside window is gonna be aperture. So there are two ways in which you can control the light. You can either control using aperture or you can control using the shutter. So when we keep the shutter open for long duration, we call it as slow shutter speed or long exposure. Whenever you keep shutter open for a long time, it captures all light during that time. Whatever moves gets overlapped by next movement and becomes blurry, and whatever doesn't move stays steady as it is. So this is really important concept, and this can be used creatively. You can use it to smoothing the water, you can use it to get the star trails, you can do a panning and keep the object only in sharp focus. We will see example of each one. You can also do ghost effect, light painting, zoom burst. There are plenty of options you can do with the long exposure. However, for this session, we're gonna limit this to only 3 examples. So smoothing water movements means if you are standing in front of waterfall, all the rocks and other landscape is steady as it is, and water is what is gonna move. Whatever moves gets basically blurry. As we saw in previous example where I used the tennis ball, we used to get the tail effect. The same happening here. We are getting the tail effects for each drops of water. So ultimately when it combined, it feels like smooth silky water. Now second example is star trails. So in night, we got very less light available. Hence, we open the aperture in full and we also open shutter in full for long duration. So in this case, it could be around 6-7 seconds. So I think after 7 seconds, you will find the stars are moving and you will get some star trails. So if you want to do star trails, then you can go beyond 10 seconds, maybe for a few minutes, and you'll get that trail effect. But here I wanted to capture Milky Way. That's why I use shutter speed less than 7 seconds. This is another example of slow shutter speed where I pan with the movement of the object. So as you can see, everything else whichever is moving is blurry. However, wherever my camera is matching the movement with the car, which is basically people inside the car, so I wanted to have them sharp. So you can see that everything else around the car is blurry, but two persons are pretty much sharp. Even the mirrors are sharp. This section of the whole car is sharp. This is another creative way of capturing flying birds or moving objects. You can aim at the object, start moving your camera along with the object and start capturing, keep moving until your exposure ends and you'll get this effect. Okay, so these are the 3 examples I covered, and I will be covering other 3 effects and more in my advanced photography session. Now let's look at some fast shutter speed or freezing the motion. If you keep shutter open for short time, it freezes the moment and captures fraction of a moment. This can be used in sport or wildlife. Anything that move fast, you wanna stop it or you wanna freeze it and you wanna capture the fraction of that moment. It can be used. You can also use flash to freeze the motion, and I will cover that in further advanced topic sessions. So with bigger aperture lens or fast lenses, you can select shutter speed pretty much very fast. Now let's see the example. So that's one of the bird I was trying to capture who is flying, and I wanted to freeze the motion, so I kept the shutter speed very fast, and you can clearly see the moment is captured and without any blur, and it's pretty much sharp. Now the question is, what's the minimum shutter speed that you need in case you want to capture the fraction of moment, you want to freeze the moment, and you want to avoid the blurry image.
So what's the minimum speed that you need? As a rule of thumb, 1 divided by focal length is going to be your minimum shutter speed if you are using full frame camera. However, if you are using crop sensor camera, then you need to multiply that focal length by crop multiplier. So it's gonna be 1 divided by focal length into crop multiplier. So this crop multiplier is different for different manufacturers. For Canon is 1.6. So if, let's say, if you want to shoot the bird at, let's say, 100 mm, then on a crop sensor camera, then your shutter speed minimum is 1 divided by 100 into 1.6. It will be 1 divided by 160. So this is because your focal length changes when you use the crop sensor. So 100 mm lens becomes 160 mm on a crop sensor. That's why your shutter speed should become 1 divided by 160. If you are using full frame, it's very simple. It's gonna be just 1 divided by 100. However, if you are using Nikon, then crop multiplier is going to be 1.5, and for Sony is again 1.5. So you can check with your manufacturer what's the crop multiplier for your particular model of your camera. And once you know this, you set this to minimum, you will get photos which are sharp, which are not gonna be blurry because of the shutter speed. With the image stabilizer on, you can get away with little bit slow shutter speed than this formula. However, you pay more for such image stabilized lenses. That's why when you see all these premium lenses with good image stabilizers comes with high price tag.
Alright, so that's all about fast shutter speed and slow shutter speed. I hope you understood the concept. In next session, I'm going to talk about camera modes and how it applicable and which camera modes we can use. So if you like this video, you can subscribe here or you can register on my website vinaymote.com. Thanks for watching.